Out of the gaslight, off the roads we've traveled on, down by the wayside against the sheen of a Babylon. I've seen an empire, taste the tempest of a gathering strong, but I found love at the end of the world. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley here with you. As always, Andrew Richter.
Another profound lyrics that I have no idea where they came from, so why don't you once again educate me on a subject you're an expert on?
That's John Mark McMillan at the end, or Love at the End, it's called. He's a guy that he's a songwriter, performer out of North Carolina, and yeah. I like him a lot.
There.
I have not. That's one of the few places down in that part of the world I've never been. North and South Carolina.
Really?
Yep.
I've been to and I haven't been. I think I've traveled through South Carolina, but I've never stayed there for any. Maybe I haven't been there.
I'm going to have to fix that. I think. I hear it's beautiful. Both of them. And
you know, my goal is to have visited all 48 mainland states.
Right.
And I think I'm about 14 short or so.
Really?
Well, a lot of it came from my old job, but
okay, yeah.
But I know I have never been northeast of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So the little New England states,
right?
The 5 or 6 of them, I've never been to them. And then there's random states, like I've never been to Oklahoma.
Okay.
And I've never been to New Mexico.
I've never been to either of those either.
Yeah.
Or Utah.
I've been to Salt Lake City.
Okay.
So, but I think that's like all west of the Mississippi, but
right.
And then it's New England, then a handful. I've never been to West Virginia.
I have.
I have never been to Maryland.
I have.
Never been to Virginia.
I have.
Because I've never been to D.C.
Okay, yeah. I went to D.C.
Okay.
and I kind of took that whole little loop in there, so.
And then I think South Carolina and I don't count Alaska and Hawaii.
Right.
And I'm trying
Who does?
to think. I think Mississippi is the other one.
Yeah, and I haven't been to like Oregon, Washington,
I've been
Idaho.
there, yeah.
So
I like the Pacific Northwest. It's beautiful country out there. I've been to. I've never been to Seattle. That's a town I'd like to visit someday. But I have been to Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
I've been to Portland, Oregon. So, yeah, it's 30-something. So that's a goal of mine, along with the Hall of Fame. I'd like to go to Cooperstown at some point.
Oh, you want to go to the Hall of Fame, not be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I'd like to be in both. But, I don't think having an opinion on baseball and being an all-star and Mickey Mantle ball, it gets me to the Hall of Fame.
There are other Hall of Fames.
But, yes, the Baseball Hall of Fame, that's definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, well, it should be. And hey, I mean, pitchers and catchers have reported, right?
They have already started.
Yeah.
The season's coming up.
It's like a month out.
Right.
First
week of April. So.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
You and I got to go down to Target Field.
Darn right. And I'll tell you where else you have to go.
Yeah.
Because we're going to kind of talk about this area today. Have you been to the new Saints Stadium?
I have not. No.
Now, did you ever go to Midway?
I did not. The only, and I guess they're not in the same league now. When I lived in Duluth, I went to see the Dukes.
Oh, okay.
In that stadium. In fact, I played baseball.
Wade
Stadium.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I went and I played baseball in that stadium myself growing up in like the Moose leagues and stuff like that. So
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say I was a big fan of Midway. Huge fan. When you went there, it was like going to watch baseball in the 50s.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Wow.
The new park has lost that feel. It's more like a mini Target Field.
Really?
But I'd still recommend going. It's still a blast.
Yeah. Huh.
So it's not quite... it's hard to capture that in a new place. It just feels like that corporate kind of atmosphere. But I got to say, it is fun to go to, and if you get out there this summer, it's a lot of fun to watch. But it's baseball played the way I love baseball being played.
Right.
You'll see hit runs, you'll see stolen bases, you'll see things like that you kind of don't see in Major League Baseball anymore. It's just swing for the fences every at bat. So
right.
The kind of baseball I really do like to watch, but you can't. You're at the ball game. You can't, other than fishing. I don't know how you can beat that for a summer day. So.
No, it's definitely a fun way to spend it.
So it's always good. I always like March. I always like looking forward to it's when the temperature goes up outside and you kind of get the feel of finally we're going to let winter's grip go away.
After this winter, I'm ready. Today, please, let all the snow go away, let the sun come out.
Hey, that's BS. March we're going to get hit with. It may be gone in 2 days.
Right.
But,
yeah, it could snow 24 inches. I'm not going to bother shoveling.
It's going to swim right out of it.
That's right. I'm going to tie a life raft up to the porch, and we'll just take care of her that way.
Hey, whatever gets you out of there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a long trip around there. So yeah, a number of those states I've been to. North Carolina is not one of them, but yeah, John Mark McMillan. For those of you playing at home, those of you who like to go out and listen to our Community Solutions songs from the podcast playlist out on Spotify. We were listening to that before the show today. I mean, that was fun. There was some good stuff.
There is good stuff on there. If I like it, it's good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything you love is just phenomenal.
Yeah, those movie soundtracks from the 80s, if you're on one of those, then it's great.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of the Cocktail soundtrack. I thought Kokomo was one of the worst songs the Beach Boys ever did, personally.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only handle so much of that hangin' 10 kind of music, but they have their place, they have their niche in if the Eagles can be superstars, then the Beach Boys can be too.
Absolutely. I like them both.
Hey, a woman over 70's favorite band, the Eagles.
I think that Good Vibrations is an amazing song. I think that what they did in that time was pretty groundbreaking, so I like the Beach Boys.
Okay.
Yeah. We've talked a little bit, I've probably talked a lot about the Botno light rail line and a little bit less about Southwest, but we have talked about them wanting to build, 11 of these light rail lines or corridors, transit corridors around the Twin Cities, correct?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, if you take every line that is in some stage from planning to operation.
Yeah.
I think there's 13.
Maybe it's 13. They want to send one up Highway 61 into White Bear Lake. They want to send one down, I think.
Red Rock down to Hastings. They want Northern Lights. And then you have the 3 that are optional now, which is Hiawatha, Central, and North Star.
Yeah, those are the operational ones, and there's still a huge fight over Southwest and Botno, and that actually is going to be interesting because we've been fighting Botno a long time, and we might actually at least have stalled it out for a while. That's another podcast.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I mean, first off, there's no state or federal money for either.
Right.
Now, I always come back to, you don't have to have state or federal money.
No.
Well, if these regions want to do this, they don't need state or federal money.
Nope.
So, they're going to stall for the free money. They're just going to wait till Democrats have the majority in St. Paul or something. And
right.
They'll wait it out. But every one of them, Botno is projected to be open this year.
Yeah, well,
I mean, they're not even close.
No. I mean, they can't even get the rights to the land from They don't own the railroad. Burlington Northern owns it. Yep.
So you'd think they'd have negotiated that before we've come this far.
You'd think so. It's kind of like, hey, I showed up with all this stuff to build a house. Yeah, well, you don't own the land here. It's,
go build a cardboard box across the street.
Well, anyways, so we're not talking about those because we've talked about those quite a bit, at least today. We are going to focus on what's called the Gateway Corridor, which is out east, starting in St. Paul, somewhere around Union Depot and the Saints Stadium that we were talking about before, and heading all the way out into Woodbury down to the Woodbury Theater Park and Ride. And I know that we'll talk about, I guess, a little bit about the project, what they're thinking, all the way to some of the, I think, long-term, what they would like to do with it. As much as we can tell you about costs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so. Not too easy to find that stuff.
No,
by the way. I mean,
it never is it?
They don't make it real simple.
No, they don't. Even when it's accessible, it's not simple. But even more so when they really don't want you to know the financials behind something. And these other projects, it's a lot easier because I don't think that they need to keep the same accounting practices where, you know, the state auditor comes in and takes a look at everything. And, a city, at least the cities in the metro, they have to go through that process. Not so with these types of projects, and especially because they're multi-city and things like that.
Well, Gateway is what it's the Gateway Corridor. So, like you said, we're following 94 East like you're going to Wisconsin.
Yes.
Okay. They do and have done what everybody else does. Create a little partnership group of local big shots with corporate partners. Just to their policy advisory committee alone, just to set the stage here, has representatives from all the cities along this line. So that's Maplewood, that's Oakdale, that's Lake Elmo, St. Paul, Ramsey County, Washington County, Woodbury, you name it. Mm-hmm. They're all there. Even Lakeland is there, and it doesn't stretch out to Lakeland.
Right.
But they're there anyway. Supposedly they're going to drive their car to a bus stop and then take the bus in. I don't know. Judging by 63rd and 81, go there and see how many people do that.
Yeah.
Not too many.
Yeah.
I'd also like to add that on this policy advisory committee for the Gateway. Now, if you're following at home, there's the gatewaycorridor.com. That is where to get. That's where we're getting pretty much all of our info. There's a site. The Met Council has a site with this, too. I don't have that in front of me, but there's a link somewhere on here. I'll find it.
Transit for Livable Communities has a bunch of info. Yeah.
So-and-so. It's also part of the 2040 plan. Thrive 2040 has an element of this. It's called the Gold Line. If you look at the Met Council's map, you will see a big gold streak. Big gold skid mark on 94 there, which represents this. So that's what we're talking about here. Now, this policy advisory committee, and I guess they're the head honchos that are putting this together.
Yes.
It includes the usual people. I mean, chambers of commerce of St. Paul and Woodbury, the Met Council, MnDOT, East Area Business Association, Metro State University, 3M, probably the biggest company along that line. And we've always said when business and government get together, it's usually bad news for the rest of us. And what they have proposed, and it's really not clear why they chose bus. I mean, let's explain what Bus Rapid Transit is. Basically an express bus,
right?
Ratchet it up a notch.
I think originally they had wanted to do both light rail and BRT, or Bus Rapid Transit, and I think that it has got to a point where they can only have either or, and they're deciding to do the Bus Rapid Transit.
Right, and their rationale is it's less cost, which it is, which is not saying much,
Right.
But they actually are planning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stops.
Okay.
And I have heard this will take 34 minutes to get from one end to the other. Now, you tell me.
Wow.
You tell me that that's any better than sitting in traffic on 94 from Woodbury to St. Paul.
No.
There's no way that's any better.
So, no, St. Paul to Hudson? But Woodbury? No. I mean, that's what, maybe halfway?
Probably. Something like, maybe a little over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what they have. They have 34 minutes it will take to go from one. So you tell me whether that's an improvement or not, and how many. Of course, it's interesting. 3M is part of this. Oh, there's a stop right at 3M headquarters.
You don't say.
I mean, I no quid pro quo there.
Wow. Wow.
They've got a stop at, they've got two stops, White Bear Avenue and Sunray, whatever Sunray is.
Sunray is a strip mall.
Oh, okay. That's
it's
right.
on the north side of 94.
Yeah, that's it might be in Maplewood, but those stops are very, very close to each other.
Yeah.
So that won't be... it'll be interesting. It's interesting to see how it goes. It really only goes out to the 694, 494... because the Woodbury Theater is right off 494.
Okay.
So it really doesn't go all that far.
No, not really.
So
it's technically designed to get people out of the very west or very eastern suburbs into downtown St. Paul. That's all this line does. It just runs up and down 94. They say it's going to facilitate moving people both ways all day.
They say the same crap about that they say about everything else. I mean, that's
right.
Let me throw something out here. I got a price tag on this.
Oh,
guess where I got it? This is the only place that had a price tag.
metcouncil.org.
Wikipedia. That's the only place I could find a price tag.
Do we know that that's accurate then?
I have no idea. There's no price tag on this website. There's no budget. These people are being funded by somebody.
Yeah.
You know it's not free. I'm sure the cities and counties are paying for it.
Right.
But the price tag that Wikipedia quotes, now I could look up the source that they use.
Okay.
Is $485 million. $500 million for a 10-mile bus route.
Wait a
minute. How in the world?
Goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you just run a bunch of buses along here that we already have?
Right.
I mean, does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. I mean, this is supposed to be cheaper than light rail. The proposed Blue Line extension, the Botno line, is longer, right? And was only supposed to...
It's 13 miles.
Supposed to cost around... what was the figure on that?
Oh, it's over $1 billion.
It was.
It's like almost $2 billion, I think, now.
Well, I guess that, that... I don't know. You're saving half of your cost by making it bus rapid transit versus... I don't know. But why can't you just take the buses you have? And I know, they say that they have to make the stops different and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm trying to think. I was out there within the past couple of weeks, and I'm trying to remember. I don't think they have bus lanes really defined on 94. So I suppose they're going to have to create bus lanes. If they do that, is that going to reduce the number of available lanes for traffic? Is it going to be min-pass? What are they going to do with it?
Well, and if that's the case, why don't they just create another lane of traffic?
Right.
Why make it a bus route?
Yeah.
The quote is from the St. Paul Pioneer Press.
Okay.
From December 18th, 2015.
I mean, I would say that that's a legit source, but it's the Pioneer Press. They're probably close.
Yeah.
As close as
it's very, very costly per rider. Also, I mean, it's just extremely high.
Right. They'll never make back their money on
goodness
fares.
gracious.
Oh, no.
None of these things ever do.
No. Well, and it's funny. I tweeted something. Was it earlier this week, or was it last week, where it talked about how making people pay fares isn't always the best way to be most economically feasible. Right. You saw that?
Yeah. But when people don't
explain that to me,
what people don't get is nothing's free. You're just giving the bill to somebody else,
right?
Just because it's costing you doesn't cost you something doesn't make it free. So it's
crazy town.
I just wonder, does this, because I can't find now that let me throw out something else here.
Okay.
I was looking at trying to find out how much money has already been spent on this, and it is not easy to to get those numbers, because they've already had. Oh, I was just on it. Let me see if I can find it. They have already had millions of dollars being spent, and I have no idea to do what.
Oh, all their impact studies, environmental studies.
Okay, an EIS study is one, but I can't figure out who's paid for that. Now, you listen to this. In 2014, the project received $2 million in state bonding money.
Okay.
Where that $2 million went, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And they also got a $1.32 million grant from the County Transit Improvement Board, which, of course, is now defunct. Where that money and what that was spent on, I don't know. 2015, the FTA gave the project, whatever that is, $1 million for TOD planning. So we all know what that is. They're going to build these stations, then they're going to build high-density housing around that. Subsidized housing, so they can bring poor people out to the suburbs and force them on the bus.
Right. I mean, you just got to make it look like it's being used, and then
but these buildings will be all subsidized with our tax dollars too. CTIB gave it another $6.75 million in 2015. Now, that's $11 million in taxpayer money in 2014. Now, I want to know where that money went.
That would be great. You're going to tell us, right?
I have absolutely no clue where it went. I don't have any idea whatsoever. And I mean, what is this $1 million for TOD planning? I'd love to have gotten that contract.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have handed in a blank piece of paper and said, there's your TOD planning.
Well, and that's it. I mean, all of these corridors, it's mandatory, to have this TOD planning where you're putting up these stops for the bus rapid transit or the light rail. And around those stops, you've got to have mixed-use development. You've got to have high-density housing.
Okay. Let me correct you, though. It is necessary for state and federal money.
Right.
You don't have to get state and federal money. If the Met Council and these two counties and cities want to put something together here, they might need MnDOT to do it on 94. And technically that's an interstate, so it's probably governed by the FTA. They can do that.
Yeah.
And they can have an express bus run a block away. So I just wonder how much money is being wasted trying to get more money,
right?
Rather than and then comes the this is my favorite part. My favorite part is their population projections. How right are how right is the Met Council ever?
And that's something else I know that I tweeted about this week was that the population projections for Pittsburgh and their mass transit system were so off, and they're still building all this high density housing that nobody's using because there's no demand for it.
Well, listen to this. Yeah. Okay, Ramsey County in 2010. had 508,640 people. Now, Ramsey County is a big place.
Yes, it is.
Okay? It's not just St. Paul and...
No, it goes up to what, Lino Lakes or...
And it would include South St. Paul, Inver Grove Heights, everything south of there, too. Lino Lakes might not be. That might be Washington County, but...
yeah, that might be at that point.
Or even... how far does Anoka County go over? It goes over to Blaine.
Arden Hills-ish.
I don't know if it goes past 35
Mounds View, Shoreview. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a big place,
right? I mean, it's a huge place. Yeah. In 2040, okay, they are projected to go up 17.4%. St. Paul, they're projecting 17.4% growth between 2000.
17.4% growth in St. Paul.
Inexplicable.
No, what? It's a completely developed city, for one. I mean, you're not going to be building new housing. You've got to tear down existing structures to do infill development with like these huge, whether it's luxury apartment buildings or mixed-use development or whatever you're building, and those things are not getting filled up. Well, and I'll
tell you what, if it ends up that'll be more people than have ever lived in St. Paul. We still have fewer people in St. Paul today than in 1960.
Yeah.
So how could they all fit there in 1960? Can't all fit there now.
Well, maybe people have spread out. Like maybe with the divorce rate as high as it is, higher than 1960, you need more housing because people aren't living together.
Oh, you're full of crap. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just guessing.
So, 17%. Maplewood, 26% increase is what they predict.
Wow.
Washington County, a 42% increase in citizens. Yes. Now, again, that's a big place, too.
But they're projecting now in the cities, the whole metro area, that we're going to grow by 700,000 people. That's the number that they're projecting across the cities, and it's ridiculous.
And they keep redefining that, though, too.
Yeah.
Because we keep going further and further out.
Right.
So, Wright County, Sherburne County technically are not part of the Twin Cities.
Right.
But you can make a case that parts of them are right now.
Yeah.
You can make a case Elk River is part of the Twin Cities.
Right.
Elk River's in Sherburne County.
Right.
So, you can make the case drive up to Forest Lake.
Yeah.
I think Forest Lake is I don't know what county that would be.
I think that's in Washington.
Is it really?
I think.
I have to look that up.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking
right.
of
We need a county map, folks, because we're all over the place.
Maybe Forest Lake was a bad example. Yeah, it is in Washington County.
I thought
that was in Kennebec County, but I guess
no. Kennebec's like.
That'd be Cambridge, Isanti.
Yeah, that's way up there. It's on the other side. It's west of there. Yeah.
Well, it is on the very tip.
Mora, I think, is in Kennebec County. Yeah.
Mora's a little ways away. We won't make the case that that's part of the city.
No, it's not.
But these population projections are just hilarious, and they actually predict some to decrease. I've actually never seen that before.
Yeah.
That first of all, they add Hudson on here, which is interesting. They add St. Croix County to grow 45%.
What? 45%.
Now, how do they know that anyway from that being in another state?
I don't know.
But basically, the project area, they predict a 28% population growth between 2010 and 2040. They also project job growth of 37%.
Huh.
So I guess we're gonna grow more jobs than people.
Well,
whatever. 25% job growth in St. Paul. That's what they predict. Do you buy that?
No. Well, I mean, at the rate of the growth of government, maybe.
Right, but at the growth of minimum wage and things like that,
Right.
you're going to push out certain companies too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Minneapolis is going to be like rats jumping off a sinking ship.
Oh my goodness, people be flying out of there like the plague dropped in.
Yeah.
Job growth in Washington County, 51% growth. Now, I'd like to know
Really?
what the hell that's based on.
Yeah, where? I mean, Stillwater? I mean...
Is Delta going to move into Oakdale? I mean,
I'm going to open 100 new antique shops on Main Street in Stillwater. I don't know.
And keep in mind...
It's dumb.
Keep in mind that this area, and I'm not including
Right.
Lakeland and Afton. And,
Yeah, that's all in there.
Right.
Marine on St. Croix.
To me, that's not part of this because this line doesn't go out there. Nobody who lives in Afton and works in Woodbury is going to take this.
No.
So that's unaffected by this. So
likewise, if you have somebody that lives in Oakdale and they work in Newport, they're not going to take it either.
Oh yeah, I mean, they may grow jobs, but there's no evidence anybody's going to take this bus to get them.
Well, yeah. Or maybe to make that fit your scenario, I should say the reverse. You know, you might grow. You're not going to grow those number of jobs in that area. Now, 3M might, as the biggest employer out in that area, grow some more jobs. I don't think you're going to land a company that's big enough. I mean, granted, like Woodbury has added a number of jobs, as we heard in our interview with Mayor Mary Giuliani Stevens, and that is partially because of the policies that they have put into place to not favor certain businesses, but make it friendly for everybody. But every city out there isn't like that.
Well, and keep in mind too, I mean, remember, you have to factor the business climate in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
You can make a good one in a city, but, I don't see any Fortune 500 companies picking up from states with zero income tax and coming here to Minnesota. And to make an impact, something like that would have to happen. Or, remember, you mentioned 3M, but remember, big, huge businesses often are not the driver of job growth.
Right.
The driver is usually small business, partnerships, sole proprietorships, and that has a hefty price tag too in Minnesota.
But
land is very expensive right now. Rents are very high right now.
To grow by those numbers and put it all on small business.
And we're going to have ups and downs in the economy. We always do.
Yeah.
Who I would like to see their job growth projections from 2006 to 2012. Let's see how accurate they were. This is poppycock. They make these numbers up and then they use them to sell this.
Right.
And I still don't see what that has to do with putting in a $500 million bus lane.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that. I don't see where benefits enough people that it's going to do much good to get rid of congestion. I just don't, and as you know, I mean, people love their cars. I mean, we see it here on the west side where we do already have some light rail. I mean, have you ever tried to drive up or down 55 during rush hour south of Minneapolis?
Let me tell you something. I avoid Minneapolis at all costs.
Yes, that's true because it's become completely unnavigable. But yeah. But I've had to do it, and it's still, I mean, granted, it's full of stoplights and stuff, but there are a lot of cars. It's not by any means car-free or close to car-free, but that's what these people want. And by these people, I mean the special interest groups that try to push for these mass transit solutions. They want to get rid of cars.
Well, and the businesses who benefit from this, too. The businesses that are getting favors by being on these lines.
Yep, and it
because
happens.
They know if you don't have a car, you can't get in your car and go to a different business 10 miles away.
Yeah.
The way, if I don't want to go to the grocery store, it's the closest to my house. I get in my car and go to a different one.
Right.
But people who don't have a car don't have those choices. You talk about options for people? No, you're sticking them with whatever they can get to.
Right.
That's what's going on. So, again, this is an effort to be controlled. Now, once again, I love this. I shouldn't laugh at this, but they add to the draft. They have some highlights here of the draft environmental impact study. The Gateway Corridor, it's some sort of, let me go back to the top here. Purpose and need. Under purpose and need, Jay, that's where I am.
Okay.
The very back has all these policies. So if you live in these cities, this is what's coming if this bus line comes in. Mm-hmm. Okay? Hang on. I just blew past it here. Washington County 2030 Comprehensive Plan. Policy 3-10, encourage TOD. Pedestrian-orientated. Neo-traditional. The hell is that?
I don't know.
Suburban-style growth. No. This is urban growth, not suburban. In an efficient manner in locations that connect to transportation and transit systems. Policy 318, support land use patterns that effectively connect housing, jobs, transportation, transit, and retail and commercial centers. Policy 4.8, support the delivery of appropriate levels and types of transit service to match the specific needs of the county based on its unique values, geography, economy, and socioeconomic profile. Now, I'll tell you, they've gone to the think tanks and focus groups here.
Oh, yeah, using buzzwords like that? Yeah. They didn't... They pulled this together using a bunch of existing documents.
Yeah, they
this
copied.
Is what it should
Once
look
again,
like.
This is plagiarism. This is a college paper. This is an F.
Yes.
Policy 4-12. Support land. Here's the kicker.
Okay.
Support land use policies and densities that promote the development of transit supportive districts to focus on transit service and capital investment. Let me translate that.
Yeah. Please do.
Wherever we have more transit, we know people aren't going to take it. So we're going to take land, put up subsidized housing. It doesn't have to be Section 8.
Right.
Subsidized housing so people from St. Paul who are poor move out to the suburbs and use the transit.
Yeah.
Huh. There. I've just said it right there.
Yep. Yeah, and I know it says here, transit services in the Gateway Corridor will help seniors and others who can't drive or choose not to drive. Then
what does that have to do with job growth?
I'm sure
seniors don't work.
Seniors are just champing at the bit to get to downtown St. Paul because
haven't you seen them at the council meetings just demanding transit?
Yeah, transit is safe, less stressful, and more convenient. I'm sorry, but if I can just walk out of my house, get into my car, and go somewhere, that's way more convenient than it is waiting till the bus is going to come, standing out in the freezing cold for 10 to 15 minutes, if the bus happens to be running late because of weather, and having them drop you off. You may or may not have to transfer a bus to get to where you're really going, and you might miss that transfer, or you might not, or then you got to wait for the appointed time to get back, wait in the cold to get back on that bus, or wait in the rain to get back on that bus, take and maybe make a transfer again. And then you wind up at home sometime, and what would have took you in your car, a half an hour trip took you 3 hours by bus. That's convenient.
Plus, if you're a senior, why can't you drive your car when it's not rush hour?
You can.
Why can't I go to the grocery store at 11 a.m. when nobody's out driving?
And who's going to the grocery store on a bus? It's like
exactly who's going shopping on a bus?
How many groceries can you carry by hand?
You can carry one bag, one or two bags at the most. Nobody's spending $150 and not. let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Go to the Cub or the Target by my place.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person who gets there is driving. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
No
Absolutely.
doubt about it.
And I'll tell you this, there are a lot of people that are starting to, and I think this is going to be more and more and more as we go, and prices come down and what have you, that, now it's Coborn's delivers, it's Amazon Prime now, Target is starting a service to deliver direct to door. You have Amazon Alexa where you can just order these things, and you have the Google Home and Apple Home Pod, which are going to give you the same abilities to say, hey, Alexa, I want a bunch of bananas, and you'll get them, and you don't have to go anywhere, and it took you 30 seconds. Now that's convenient.
Yeah, now I'll add something to that too. How many people work from home now versus 20 years ago? How many people will in 20 years?
Yeah.
Versus today. You got things like GoToMeeting, things like, you don't have to go. And how many people, I've said this before, how many people work suburb to suburb now?
A lot.
It's not the 1950s anymore.
No, a lot of these companies move out in the suburbs.
Of course.
You can't build.
They don't. Well, and they don't want Minneapolis and St. Paul laws on them either.
Yeah.
But if you look at, I think of a lot of big companies, Best Buy being one, which is
They're
in Richfield.
The suburbs. Amazon's
Cargill.
got their places out in the suburbs.
Cargill's out in Wayzata. 3M is out in, what are they, in Maplewood or Oakdale?
Yeah, something like
Target
that.
out in Brooklyn Park.
Yeah.
There's not a... I don't want to say there aren't any because
Target
there are.
downtown, but I think it's possible they could move everything out to Brooklyn Park if they wanted to.
Well, if they want to expand, that's where they can expand.
Yep.
So, you have companies, Medtronic, they're out on 694.
Fridley,
These companies aren't all downtown.
No.
So,
you'll see less and less of that.
Yeah. So I think that, granted, Minneapolis and St. Paul clearly have, from sports stadiums to things that suburbs don't have. But I don't see job growth in Minneapolis and St. Paul. If it's going to grow, it's going to grow in the suburbs, even the outer suburbs, it may grow.
Right. Look at Minneapolis itself. I mean, it's really changed if you look at the downtown of Minneapolis over the past number of decades, where you used to have department stores, you had all these places to eat, and now, I mean, you have places to eat, but they're generally only open when people are working. You have all the department stores closing down there.
Yeah, they're all gone.
I mean, it's really only become about the people who work there, and that's it. And if these companies start to move out, what's that going to do to downtown Minneapolis? Think about that for a moment.
Yeah, maybe the Minneapolis City Council ought to think about that for a moment. Not sure they've had a thought between all of them.
No, and Minneapolis City Council, they're living in La La Land. They're going to think, they're going to stay here forever. They're not going to move out. What do you mean? The people love to pay $15 minimum wage, and no, they haven't thought that far ahead. And we're building transit lines to run between downtown and suburbs. And like we've said, more people are staying home to work. More people are ordering things using voice, and that's only going to increase. I'm sorry, but if it gets to a point where, I don't know, for me, I think it's just getting used to that new technology and for the price to kind of work itself out a little bit, where I can say, hey, Alexa, I need a new pair of Converse Chucks, and I spend 30 seconds and they go buy them for me. It's a slam dunk. I'm never going to a shoe store again.
I hate shopping, but
me too.
Me. Let me bring up a couple other things here. Pretty much all of the comprehensive plans are quoted in here.
Yeah.
From Maplewood to Woodbury to Oakdale. Here's a quote from Woodbury's land use plan. High-density residential and mixed uses are directed to areas served by transit.
Well, and keep in mind, though, if these things are not in the city's comprehensive plans, the Met Council is going to say, do it over and send it back.
Probably.
And this dance will continue until it reflects what the Met Council wants to be in that plan, or the Met Council can take them to court and kind of put their thumb down on that city.
Yeah, but pretty much all of them to a T are supportive in some way or another. Higher density, economic development, walking and biking, Lake Elmo even, which has really fought some of this stuff in the past. Basically, their 2030 plan, I don't have the 2040, I think is still in development, directs urban, notice there was the word urban, not suburban, 7.5 to 15 housing units per acre, which is, they probably classify that as medium density housing.
Probably, yeah. Those definitions have changed over time, and lot sizes have decreased.
But that is the plan to use for densities along the, quote, I-94 corridor, which I think is another word for gateway.
Right.
But they all pretty much to a T have some way, they may say it. Lake Elmo actually comes out and says in a statement, the city encourages, supports, and advocates a public transit system to the city at appropriate geographic locations as determined by the city. Well, I don't think the city is in charge of where these transit stations go.
No.
Maybe they got a small voice, but that's pretty much all.
That is pretty much it. And I mean, I know just because of what has happened with the Botno line running that, there really isn't. I don't know. The plans often come from the county, and the county has their project managers and whoever on this, because cities can't afford the project managers and stuff. They get probably a little bit of a voice. Hey, here's what we think. But the project manager is going to come back from the county and say, here's what we think. This is the plan. This is what the environmental impact studies say. This is the best solution for everybody. And if we put these stations here and we build up around it with transit-oriented development, that this is going to be the best that we can all hope for. And I think, I would like to know, and I'm sure you don't have the numbers on this, but like with the Botno line, they wanted to put Crystal on the hook for a good part of that, as well as Hennepin County, as well as the federal money and all of that. So I would like to know how much is each city, how much are the taxpayers of each city not only paying in county taxes, but in city taxes to be able to build this thing?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, it's our money no matter what.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. But
who knows? Because as far as Botno goes, Hennepin County has already assumed 10% of the operating costs.
Right.
So your taxes, it's not the city portion, but your property taxes are already going to go up from this, regardless of what happens with the cities.
Right.
Now, getting back to Gateway, it still amazes me. Okay, $485 million. Now, I'm quoting the Pioneer Press, which I wouldn't read if it were toilet paper.
Right.
But how do you get that price? I'm still lost on how that kind of a price tag for a bus line.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to build what do you need to build all these stations for?
Right.
Then we have bus stops. I mean, what are you going to do? Build 12 parking lots?
Well, I suppose so. I mean, that's what they're planning to do for the other lines. Remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about in Robbinsdale how they wanted to fight the parking lot that was being proposed for Botno there. And it's like, no, it's too big. There's too much parking.
We don't want too many people on this thing.
Right. And then the Met Council came back and said, well, we'll see if we can work something out. If not, you're just going to have to go with our plan. and I'm sure that's what they're doing with all of these lines, whether it's Gateway, whether it's South southwest.
You need these big parking lots a mile from each other. You got 12 stops on a 10-mile thing here. I mean, How many do you honestly need? And I'll tell you what, so that means they got to be done, they got to be maintained. I mean, does this include subsidizing the land around this? Does this include...
Oh, it has to. I mean, when you look at development...
The losses that are incurred every year?
Now, we know from our interview a couple of weeks ago that Woodbury's not engaging in TIF currently.
Right.
The other cities... That's probably not the case. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to have TIF, that's probably the only way that they're going to be able to develop some of this TOD around these stops.
Now let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're told by these people everybody wants transit.
Right.
So shouldn't these? There should be hundreds of people wanting this land. It should be very expensive to do it.
Right.
Nobody should have to be subsidized, right?
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, all of that land belongs to somebody. If we look back to January 18th, there was an article that was put out in the Star Trib with Rapid Bus Line on drawing board, developer shifts plans for site in Oakdale, and says Scannell grabs the only vacant land along the Rapid Bus route planned east of downtown St. Paul. So all of it's spoken for now. So somebody owns every bit of the land between there and the end of that route. Now, if the people who own that land aren't the developers already, or maybe they've already spent the money to get that land, plus you figure the building up of it, plus you figure, the cities may do bonding to acquire that land if it's in private hands and they don't want to play ball to build the TOD, but so you're looking at that. You could have
has to get that money from
city level bonding and TIF districts to the developers to help facilitate the building of those TOD districts.
So the city would have to buy something, demolish it, sell it on the cheap.
Yep.
And collect the taxes on it 25 years later.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's the scenario we're looking at.
Exactly.
We're looking at New Hope everywhere.
Boy.
Pretty much. I mean, and again, I mean, I also question some of the legality of this.
Yeah.
I mean, is it really acceptable? I bet MnDOT owns some of the land too, especially the further out you go. I just wonder. I mean, you've already got like Sunray. Okay, you already got a shopping center.
Yeah.
Well, how the hell are you going to develop over there?
I don't know.
What's going to develop that's not already there? You don't have any vacant land there. What are you going to do? Are you going to tear down a whole neighborhood and build up
maybe
a high density?
Down Sunray and you remake that into a strip mall with mixed use development.
So you make it St. Louis Park.
Yeah.
So I think they've got some. I think it's pretty questionable. What I mean, I just think again these projections and these, I mean, we laugh at it, but however they come up with this is the pretext for doing this. Hey, transit creates jobs. Give me a break.
No. Job creators create jobs.
Yeah,
Companies create jobs. People create jobs. Transit does not create jobs. I'm sorry. Transit, I don't believe this, but I'm going to give it to you in this instance. Transit may help decide where those jobs go to some degree, but it's not going to create jobs in and of itself. You're going to have a company that wants to do business here. I mean, they're going to create jobs wherever they're at.
Well, but is that a company that's new or growing, or is that a company that moves from one spot to another? You do that, you haven't created one job.
That's true.
All you've done is relocate. So, I mean, there's that question, too. I mean, I just... Transit has become like what every other issue it seems to be. Somehow it becomes about poor people or race or something or other where it's become about social justice.
Right.
And the social justice arguments for transit, all I can do is shake my head at them. I cannot figure out, if you want people to move up in the world, making them dependent on government to get them to work and back, government to get them to the grocery store and back, government to get, aren't you going in the opposite direction of where you want to be? I want people independent.
Right.
I want people to take full advantage of their own skills and opportunity and so on and so forth. I don't want it to go backwards. And to me, to get people dependent on transit is the wrong direction to take it.
Right. It's making you dependent on a system, and I don't know. I just don't see. I see the value in it for the people it serves, but I don't see the value in it for the majority of the population.
But even let me challenge that.
Yeah.
Okay. Say somebody uses the bus to go to school.
Yeah.
Well, once they get their degree, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they going to go buy a house somewhere, buy a car, have a family, get a good job? They're not using the bus line any longer.
Right.
So it's situational for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's easier than driving downtown or in a snowstorm or... Hey,
there may be circumstances. I've ridden the bus before.
I have too, but I'm much happier not riding it. I'll tell you that right now.
And let me tell you, when I rode the bus, there was nobody on that bus that was happy.
No,
my goodness, it was like a walking morgue. Nobody was happy they be being on the bus. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the bus or their jobs or what, but
yes, and yes.
Yes,
that's what I think.
So. How much better it is to be free, Andrew, isn't it? To kind of make your own way in the world. And
I've said this: attacking the car is about attacking your freedom.
Yes.
It unfortunately it really is true. Where going after your ability to go from place to place. And where we can be controlled. Now, let me tell you where we are in the process here. We are in the pre-project development and draft environmental assessment process. We still have a 2-year project development. I would guess we're still in that too. An engineering phase that's supposedly going to take 2 years. 2 years to do engineering.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're making. 3 years to construct? This is one bus line.
Yeah. There's no rail being laid. And
that might be why LRT's not an option either. There's no existing rail line to go on.
Exactly.
Which may be part of why BRT. But they're still supposedly on track for the year 2024.
2024.
So I'll be 47 when this is supposedly put in. I don't buy it. I don't think it will be there, but so that's sort of the timeline here. And they sure update stuff. You want to look at the last policy advisory committee meeting? Well, they have the December 2016 packet available.
2016.
I don't know what's happened in the last 15 months.
Goodness.
But I guess nothing. So it's updated like Bono is. I should mention, too, they have other things, too. The Community Advisory Committee. So if you're a resident over there, you can join one of these. Of course, it's not just made up of residents. Oh, no.
Oh, no. You're going to have businesses.
We have, workforce development people. We have somebody from the St. Paul Libraries, Sunray Business Association.
So government employees.
Yeah.
With workforce development employees and librarians.
I guess so. They probably are very quiet, though. Very quiet. Woodbury Chamber of Commerce. So it's not quite a resident only, and I'm sure they have no power. I think it's just might be, for all I know, it might be token.
Right.
So if you want to look at the last thing that I can find on here for the Policy Advisory Committee meeting would be their agenda for the Thursday, November 10th, 2016 meeting. So where they talked about what is called the LPA, the local preferred alternative, which there's no record of what happened there, so I'm assuming they all voted for it. So just great transparency on this. We got Stevie Wonder keeping up the website.
Well,
maybe a little help from Roy Orbison or something.
Jeff Healy.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just craziness to me. This is not the only rapid bus line that is being planned for the Twin Cities. There was an article that came out in the Star Trib from Janet Moore back on February 19th. It says in the coming years, 10 more rapid bus lines will snake through the Metro's busiest transit corridors. Snake through is the operative word here, I think. And it's not going to be just... They're not going to use existing buses in a lot of cases. The C line, which goes from downtown Minneapolis all the way to the Brooklyn Center Transit Station, the one where there's always police officers there because it's so safe. Yeah. They have said that for the C line, they are going to only use, or they're going to feature 8 emissions-free electric buses. Yep. The 60-foot accordion buses will be fully propelled by rechargeable batteries.
I'm going to throw them all in water then.
So they're playing around with all this fancy stuff that, they want to be trendy. They want to look like, oh, look at us. We're this trendy city with all this public transportation, and it's all this new green whatever.
And I still come back to this. If you want an express bus, they probably already have some sort of express bus out there. Why can't you just use the fast lane?
Yeah.
And go from the Woodbury Theater to downtown and build nothing.
Yeah.
But see, that's the difference. An express bus doesn't stop, right? It's an express bus.
Supposedly, yeah. Well,
this is...
Yeah, at some point. It has a number of stops, and then it
this is a 34-minute bus rapid transit with 12 stops.
Well... Our illustrious governor has a bonding proposal for this legislative session.
I saw that.
$50 million for regional bus rapid transit investment. So,
where's that money going to?
$35 million of it's going for the D line, which goes through North Minneapolis to I don't know where.
I don't know where, but I've heard of it too. But I don't know where it goes.
Yeah, but. It's
$50 million for what? To whom? To do what?
Yeah. So that's $50 million of your money, Minnesota, from all over the state.
No.
No?
Bonded money.
Bonded money.
Borrowed. That's money we don't have.
It's actually going to be much more of your money once you pay back the interest on that bond, as we've talked about many times on this show before. Right. Thank you for clarifying, because the bond is $50. You're going to be ended up paying a lot more money to pay back both the principal and the interest on that bond.
Yeah, and the further out that bond goes, the more and more.
Yeah,
it's higher the rate and the more the money.
It's not going to be a 5-year maturity date on that bond. I'll tell you that. It's going to be
20 years
long.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just adds to all the bonding we're already freaking doing. So, bottom line is, I mean, no place in the Twin Cities. I mean, again, it's all about taking the sub out of suburban.
Yeah.
No place in the Twin Cities, I swear, are you safe from complete. Except maybe Oak Grove. Yeah. Are you spared?
Yeah.
Complete streets, high density housing, TOD.
Yeah.
BRT, LRT, something is either being planned, in the process, close to being built, being thought up by some scheming son of a bitch down at the Met Council. They're playing chess with our neighborhoods and the places that we live and love.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. It's a little game for our Politburo down there in St. Paul. So you live over there, and of course, we have fans everywhere, Jay. I mean, I know we do out in that area.
Yes, we do. And we've spoken out in that area about this.
Sure. And so you're in Oakdale, Maplewood, Lake Elmo, Woodbury, east side of St. Paul, wherever. Well, we're talking about coming near you. The plan is still 2024. That's probably BS right now, but
who knows?
So what? So it's 2 years later.
I know they've been fighting this out in that area for,
There is quite a bit of opposition to it, especially to the housing end of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that there's the fierceness against having. Nobody's really against having bus service.
Right.
It's more the permanence of this with what it comes with.
Yeah.
Subsidized housing, the element that brings to your city, and so on and so forth. And the lose of the feel of where you live.
Yeah.
And hey, look, like I said, everybody will be in an urban area. There'll be no such thing as a suburb if all this transit goes through. And if MnDOT would get their head out of their butts and their legislature would do their job and not let MnDOT make all these policies. MnDOT, one of the things it says in this Gateway Corridor website is that MnDOT through the year 2033 has got no plans to build any roads in this area.
Right.
So because there's no road planning expansion is part of what's caused this in the first place.
Yeah.
That MnDOT's just decided, well, we're not going to build anything. And that's not MnDOT's decision to make. They're not dictators. They serve at the pleasure of the taxpayers.
Right.
So, like I said, I am very open to being the MnDOT commissioner, which is, I think, a job that I'm well suited for.
Yeah.
So, I know you want to be appointed to the Met Council, but I'll take the MnDOT commissionership, and we'll fix this problem real quick.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
So, like I said, you live out there, everything we said, we say this week after week, and you know it's true, coming to you.
Yeah. They may be taking the sub out of suburban Andrew, but maybe we can take the bus out of busy.
Huh.
Maybe we can come up with an alternative plan that, I don't
take
know.
the BS out of no. Possibly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, same thing, different place. And,
right.
I know that it's not, probably not as bad as light rail, but again, the same concepts are going on. And if anybody thinks, this Washington County is going to grow population by 50%, I just do nothing but giggle at it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's already, out Lake Elmo area, a lot of open land that's just, it's not being developed. There's some new housing developments out there that they've got a few houses.
Keep in mind, part of why they do this is because high-density housing is what they want to put in. So they always figure that the new development is going to be more compact. You're going to grow vertically.
Yeah.
But you got cities like Maplewood that's fully developed out there.
Yeah.
So you're not going to jack up the
again.
You may grow 5%, 10%. Families may start having more kids again. I don't know.
Tear some stuff down, build luxury apartment buildings, just like New Hope.
Right, but how many luxury apartment buildings can one suburb take? I mean, there's only... I
don't know. Look at Golden Valley. How many can they take?
I don't know. Not too many more, I can tell you that. I mean, but we're in, again, too, remember, we're in good economic times right now.
Yeah, what happens?
Those things are the first things that are going to be vacant when there's any kind of downturn.
And there will be a correction. It's coming. I mean, we're overdue. It's coming.
We've basically had about 7.5 years now of not great economic growth. Better lately.
Yeah.
Ironically, when we had a change in the White House, it got a little better.
Yeah.
And actually, consumer confidence, I found in February, was its highest in 18 years.
Wow.
However, nothing indefinitely goes up.
No, it can't. It'll reach its limits. depending on how things go. I know there was some talk today about imposing tariffs and stuff, and the stock market suffered a little bit for that. I don't know what'll come of it. But
yeah, and that's an issue you and I don't quite see eye to eye on. We won't get into it, but I think certain, every trade thing has winners and losers,
right? So
you don't know in the long run how that's going to pan out. It probably would be good for some, not good for others.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no one thing is going to kill the economy like that.
Right.
It's always a combination of factors, and so, but you just wonder between say now and 2040, what if we have 3 recessions or 2 recessions? That's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, I mean generally every 7.5 years we go through a big correction into a recession. It happens.
You and I just since. I came around to consciousness, which would be, I was born in 1977, but I remember the recession at the end of President Bush Sr.'s, George H.W. Bush's term. Then you had the dot-com bubble and 9/11 and all that in 2000, 2001. Right. Then you had the 2008, 9, 10. You're right, every 8 years or so. Yeah. So you want to say we're due. Not that I'm cheering for one.
Oh, no.
But if you want to say we're due for one, in the next year or two, we're due for one.
Yeah. So what's going to happen to these places?
I don't know. But the first thing, that's going to go is real estate's going to go down. That's the first thing that's going to happen. Guarantee it. As soon as people start losing their jobs, start losing their homes, real estate goes down with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, building, and what's going to happen with all the TIF districts that have the money leveraged against these properties to be increased.
Yeah.
So, it never seems to stop. Government never learns their lesson. They never do anything differently.
Right.
So I would expect city councils like New Hope to just keep doing what they're doing and damn the consequences.
Well, hopefully some of you out there in the eastern cities of the metro will learn and maybe go a little bit more cautiously towards putting your system in place with the Gateway Corridor. I'm not holding my breath, but hey,
me either. I'm going to emit carbon dioxide and not hold my breath.
you
me and Al Gore.
Climate denier. Yeah, well, that's a whole different podcast. But hey, like I mentioned earlier, we've spoken on this out in that part of town with people that have been fighting Gateway for years. We are more than happy to come speak to your group about the things that are going on in your neighborhood, in your city, whether it's like in North Branch where your mayor just joined the CD8 race as a Democrat.
Couldn't see that coming, could we?
No, well, we did. But, all the fine people out there who... the majority don't vote in that direction. That's a big eye-opener for them. I'm telling you, have us come and speak to you so that we can begin to help you put an infrastructure together that is going to allow you to get party politics out of local elections and get to a place where you can have like-minded people, but... like we've said, what's the Republican or the Democrat position on adding a stop sign or speed limits or a dog park? It's not always so clear cut, and there's enough going on with enough money being wasted and enough foolishness in the way that comprehensive plans are being written and instituted and the way that money is being spent in budgets and comprehensive annual financial reports that you guys really need to understand what's going on in your city because it's far more expensive and expansive than you realize. So I'm just going to say, invite us out. We'd love to come talk to you. We'd love to help you out. we're here for you guys. Join up with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Share our podcasts, because that is the best way for you to help inform your neighbors without having to reinvent the wheel, without having to try and learn all this yourself. We cut down the learning curve for you. I mean, how cool is that, huh? You don't have to spend Friday nights at home learning how to read a budget. We already did it. You get to just reap the benefits, the rewards.
Yeah, you can sit there and watch your WKRP reruns. Jay, where do you find us at?
Well, if you want to get a hold of us, you can do that at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. And our blog is commsolutionsmn.com. That is the source of all this wealth of information that we're sharing with you guys. So tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell the Army. It doesn't matter. We're coming for you, Minnesota. We have told our tale, and now we're going to do our part. And we expect the same of you. So we love you, Minnesota. Now it's your turn to get to work.